Welcome, everybody, to the behind-the-scenes look at the American Telemedicine Association's annual conference here in 2015. My name is Chris Sepper. I'm with MedCity News, and we are hours away from the opening keynote for ATA 2015. We're here to give you an inside look and a preview of what's going to happen at this year's most important telemedicine conversation in the year. I'm here with Jonathan Linkus. He is the CEO of ATA, who will be talking with us about this, and MedCity News will be providing coverage all throughout the conference and actually moderating some of the more bigger executive level sessions. But Jonathan, you know more about this than I do.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Talk to me more about what you've got expected this year. What's top of mind for people attending the conference?
Thanks, Chris. It's a great opportunity, and appreciate MedCity to be a part of this, and it's going to be a great conference. Really been something, of course, we look forward to every year. We have a record-breaking number of people who will be here, a record-breaking number of exhibits and floor space, and the presentations are going to be really special. Over 500 presentations stuffed over 2.5 days, all of them peer-reviewed, a lot of scientific findings about what's going on in telemedicine. The field is absolutely erupting in terms of what's going on. The number of presentations reflects the number of services, the number of companies, the number of healthcare institutions that are using telemedicine. It's a growth market, and we're in the middle of that growth.
What's interesting is at last year's conference, there was a lot of interest around regulation that was encouraging more and more use of video. Regulation always seems to be top of mind when it comes to telemedicine. You just released some information about the number of pieces of legislation happening in telehealth. What's the latest in regulation, and what do you think will be most discussed here at the conference when it comes to that issue?
You know, it's an ironic thing with the legislation changes, because for a long time we were lobbying for more reimbursement, and certainly we're still looking for more reimbursement and more legislation to help us out. What's really happening so much in the healthcare transformation, and as we move toward bundled payments and accountable care organizations and so much of the different ways of funding healthcare and providing healthcare, it's taking on and taking off right without the government regulations. So in a way, we're shifting some of what we say is, let's let the government let telemedicine bloom. And so we do want reimbursement, but we also want to allow hospitals and healthcare systems and physicians and private companies start providing telemedicine the way they are providing telemedicine, unencumbered with some of the regulations that we had, and we needed to have it under the old healthcare system. We're in a new day, and it's nowhere can you see it even greater than when you look at the number of telemedicine services that are flowing out there. I'll give you a couple of numbers. You look at the number of patients in an intensive care unit that are being monitored remotely by an intensivist or a critical care nurse. We're talking about 11% of all the intensive care unit beds in the United States. Over 500,000 every year will be looked at and treated remotely. Telestroke. Telestroke has been something that's been talked about, hinted at a little bit for over the years. Over 125,000 patients who either suffered a stroke or some kind of services related or some kind of a pain or symptoms related to a stroke will be seen by a neurologist using telemedicine, telestroke, in times when some of these patients could not get that care. And if they don't get the care in the first hour, it could be disaster effects for people. So it's a tremendous amount of things that are changing already, even without all of the government regulations and support that we think is coming. And there's I think you had mentioned we have over 100 bills that were introduced in the different state legislatures already this year, all of them supporting telemedicine. We have 4 bills that were just introduced in the House and the Senate supporting telemedicine. So it's good to be in telemedicine.
I was able to sit in on some of the earlier discussions in educational seminars, and I hear people focused on how do we integrate more telehealth into the electronic medical record. I hear conversations about extending apps, because they all believe that millennials who want treatment, 70% of millennials want to use mobile apps or want a virtual visit with a doctor. When you've listened to what the membership is saying, kind of what is that next frontier that they would tackle if legislation was right and they could move, as you said, unencumbered?
Here's I think the inflection point that we're getting. The innovation is overwhelming. The innovation is there. It's always great to have more innovation, and we will certainly have that. But we have so many inventions that are there. The issue is not that. The issue is how do you take some of the innovations and capabilities that telemedicine can provide now and integrate that into the ongoing practice of medicine. That's why you had the conversations about how do we have telemedicine and integrate that into the electronic medical record. These applications that are for the cell phone that you can download on your palm, it's great to have those, but if you're not linked into your primary care doctor or in the hospital system or in your healthcare payment system so that your insurance agency recognizes that and your records are somehow fitting in, you've got to integrate that. And I think that's one of the hallmarks of what we're talking about now. We've got innovation complete. It's on the exhibit floor here. It's amazing to see what's coming up. But the question is not so much that, but what do you do with it? How do we actually transform healthcare? Because what we're about is not just inventing a new widget. We're here to transform the way healthcare is provided.
And what's interesting about technology's integration into healthcare is you have all these new entrants. And so at this conference, what always impresses me is that while you have a large growth, you also have a large number of first-time attendees. Can you give people more insight on what happens at an ATA conference, what to expect when they're here, and why it's important for this conference to exist and keep going?
You know, it's a really good question. I think there are several things that people come to ATA for. First of all, to learn, especially if you're a newbie, if this is your first conference. You will learn more about telemedicine in 3 days than you would in a year trying to go out on your own and read about it or talk to people about it, because there's so much going on here. So certainly learn from the sessions, get educated. That is number one. You will find products and services of the new things that are being deployed. But you know, the other thing that we're finding is extremely important, and I think we're really starting to focus on that, is networking and meeting people who are in the field, who are doing this right now. Because where you can learn the most is just a sitting down in an informal conversation with someone who has been using cardiac monitoring for the past 10 years. And you talk to them about what their experience is, what works, what doesn't, how they go about doing this. And if you're involved in cardiac monitoring, there's nothing better than to talk to somebody like that. This is where you find that. This is where you find the experts. This is where you find the people who've been in the field for 20 years and know what works, and more importantly, know what doesn't work.
It's always interesting, and we'll wrap it up. It's, you know, every year you'll see reports on this new thing called telemedicine. But the truth is that, you know, this has been a conversation that's been happening for 20 years. And it is fascinating. I see the big Medtronic banner. That's not something that would have been here 7 years ago, but it speaks to the convergence of healthcare and this kind of, whether you like it or not, integration of technology where everybody now is trying to catch up.
You're right. Excuse me. This is our 20th annual meeting. And I've been through all 20 annual meetings. Our first meeting was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We had 250 people there and 10 exhibits. And everybody was so excited because it was the first time anybody ever got together and talked about some of this stuff. And it was an incredible experience. The next year we had 500. It was an incredible growth that we had. This year we're going to go well over 5,000 people. The growth is there. And it just, again, is indicative of what's going on in the market itself.
This is just the beginning. Jonathan Linkus and I are sitting here kind of in ATA Unplugged, hours before the conference really kicks off. What's going to happen here at the MedCity News ATA Media Pavilion is we're going to have similar conversations with some of the thought leaders in telemedicine on this stage throughout the entire conference, and we'll be placing those on medcitynews.com. There's going to be reports not only from MedCity News, but other media outlets that will be publishing with their help as part of the show daily. You know, this, again, telemedicine, HIMSS just took place. Technology in healthcare is rapidly changing, and so it's a great opportunity right now to capture some of the thought leaders and some of the changes happening right here at the ATA conference. We hope you continue to follow along, whether you're here live or watching virtually. For Jonathan Linkus, my name is Chris Sepper with MedCity News. Look forward to talking to you throughout the conference.